important, your life is going to change. But more important, your son's life is going to change forever. America will never be the same after September 11, 2001.
He's on almost everyone's list of the most likely suspects for today's attacks.
The alleged mastermind, America's most wanted terrorist, Osama bin Laden.
He has described the United States as the devil. This is the beast.
Meanwhile, Osama bin Laden is a name that we have been hearing all day long.
They now believe that bin Laden was responsible.
I'm told that Osama bin Laden likely deployed more than 50 terrorists.
They are now, and I'm quoting here, 90% certain
somebody provided the logistical support for this operation, and clearly the only person.
Bin Laden comes to mind right away, Mr. Brenner.
Indeed, he certainly does. Bin Laden.
This is his M.O.
We have to look to the Middle East. We have to look to Osama bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden.
Bin Laden.
The American walks every day, normal, going to work. He's walking downtown in Manhattan, and all of a sudden,
de helft van de Nederlandse moslims heeft begrip voor de aanslagen van 11 september.
Armed with knives, armed with chemical, biological, nuclear weapons. Fanatics, terrorists, September 11th. September 11th, killers, September 11th, terrorists. Terrorists of Al-Qaeda, terrorists, nuclear weapons, terrorists. 9/11, terror, terrorists, evil.
September 11th, September 11th. The terrorists, war and danger. September 11th, terrorism, global terrorism, terrorism, terrorists. Terrorists, 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 the terror. Terrorists, terrorists, terrorism. September 11th, global terrorism, terrorists. Terrorism. September 11th, world terrorism, terrorism. September 11th, global terrorism. September the 11th, terror. Weapons of mass destruction. September the 11th, September the 11th, terrorists. The evil terrorists, no.
Terrorism. The words are hypnotically repeated. Terrorism, terrorist, terrorist threat, and of course, believed to be linked to Al-Qaeda.
As if a demolition team set off when you see the old demolitions of these old buildings.
It looks like one of those scenes of an old building being purposely dynamited and blown up.
Anybody who's ever watched a building being demolished on purpose knows that if you're going to do this, you have to get at the under-infrastructure of a building and bring it down.
The way the structure is collapsing, this was the result of something that was planned. It's not accidental that the first tower just happened to collapse and then the second tower just happened to collapse in exactly the same way. How they accomplished this, we don't know.
The building collapsed to dust. You don't find a desk. You don't find a chair. You don't find a telephone, a computer. The biggest piece of a telephone I found was half of the keypad, and it was about this big.
What happened to the concrete? The concrete was pulverized from river to river. There was dust powder 2-3 inches thick. The concrete was just pulverized.
In addition to those pictures we've all seen too much on television before, when a building was deliberately destroyed by well-placed dynamite to knock it down.
if they had detonated. They were planned to take down our building.
I heard a second explosion.
There was a heavy-duty explosion.
Then there was some secondary explosions and then subsequent collapses.
An explosion blew and it knocked everybody over.
To me, it sounded like an explosion.
It sounded like gunfire. Bang, 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 bang. And then all of a sudden, 3 big explosions.
We heard a big explosion coming down.
And then the entire top of the building just blew up.
We saw some kind of explosion.
By the force of the explosions.
Big explosion. Blew us back into the 8th floor.
Then we get to the lobby. This is a big explosion.
The lobby looked as though a bomb had exploded there.
A huge explosion now raining debris.
It's been a huge explosion.
Huge explosion that we all heard and felt.
We just witnessed some kind of follow-up explosion. We heard a very loud explosion.
A secondary explosion at Tower 1 camp.
That is another bomb going off. He thinks that there were actually devices that were planted in the building. Planted in the building.
I don't think anybody could have predicted that they would try to use an airplane as a missile, a hijacked airplane as a missile.
Nobody in our government, at least, and I don't think the prior government that could envision flying airplanes into buildings.
No specific threat involving really domestic operation or involving what happened, obviously, the city's airliner and so forth.
There were no warning signs that I'm aware of.
USA Today reports that in the 2 years before the attacks on September the 11th, NORAD conducted exercises using hijacked airliners as weapons. And one target was the World Trade Center.
In confidential documents from the Philippines obtained by CNN, the plan was clear. He will board any American commercial aircraft, control its cockpit, and dive it at the CIA headquarters. Other buildings targeted the Pentagon and the World Trade Center.
Security in counterterrorism was blinking red, in the words of George Tenet, that the warnings of an imminent attack were so severe that something dramatic should have been done. It was unparalleled. Instead, our president went on a month-long vacation.
The head of Pakistani intelligence at the ISI, Mahmoud Ahmed, requested Omar Sheikh to wire $100,000 to Mohammed Atta, who was the lead hijacker.
Hijacker Mohammed Atta received wire transfers via Pakistan. The man sending the money to Atta is believed to be Ahmed Umar Saeed Sheikh.
Omar Sheikh admitted he was supported by the Pakistan government's intelligence service, the ISI.
Although we are told that 4 or 5 of the alleged hijackers were on each of the flights. If so, their names should have been on the flight manifests. But the flight manifests that have been released contain neither the names of the alleged hijackers nor any Arab names whatsoever.
We know that the men who were supposedly the hijackers had their houses, cars, credit cards paid for by the U.S. government. They were, in truth, agents.
Evidence was also apparently planted. The passport of one of the hijackers on Flight 11 was allegedly found in the rubble.
Goes through the fireball, through the side of the plane, and comes down to the ground unscathed. But something happened. For 6 months they reported they had this passport. Boy, we've got it, we've got the proof. And then the guy stood up and was alive.
Several of these 19 men are still alive.
course we're after Saddam Hussein. Bin Laden. Of course we're after Saddam Hussein. Bin Laden. Of course we're after Saddam Hussein. Bin Laden. Of course we're after Saddam Hussein. Bin Laden. He's
January 2001. The Bush administration orders the FBI and intelligence agencies to back off investigations involving the bin Laden family, including two of Osama bin Laden's relatives, who were living, guess where, in Falls Church, Virginia, right next to CIA headquarters.
When he was already America's most wanted criminal, he reportedly spent 2 weeks in the American hospital in Dubai, was treated by an American doctor, and visited by the local CIA agent.
We have not seen one piece of evidence that links Osama bin Laden directly to the planning stages of September 11th. We have not seen one piece of evidence that links Osama bin Laden directly to the planning stages of September 11th. We have not seen one piece of evidence that links Osama bin Laden directly to the planning stages of September 11th.
Nine of them are still alive. Walid al-Shari is a Saudi Airlines pilot in Casablanca, Morocco. Wael M. al-Shari is alive as well. Abdulaziz al-Amari is a Saudi Airlines pilot living in Saudi Arabia. Mohand al-Shari is alive in Saudi Arabia. Khalid al-Madar is a computer programmer in Mecca. Salam al-Hamsi works at a chemical plant in Yanbo, Saudi Arabia. Saeed al-Ghamdi is trained to be a pilot in Kuwait. Ahmed al-Nami is an administrative supervisor for Saudi Airlines. And last but not least, Mohammed Atta's father claimed to receive a phone call from his son on September 12th.
This failure to provide proof was later said to be unnecessary because bin Laden, in a video allegedly found in Afghanistan, admitted responsibility for the attacks. This confession is now widely cited as proof. But the man in this video has darker skin, fuller cheeks, and a broader nose than the Osama bin Laden of all other videos. We again seem to have planted evidence.
In 1976, Osama's older brother Salim bin Laden hired a man in Texas by the name of Jim Bath to handle all the investments in the United States for the bin Laden family. Jim Bath also happens to be a personal, almost lifelong friend and former Air National Guard pilot with George W. Bush. The connections between the Bushes and the bin Ladens become much more clear when George Herbert Walker Bush made trips to Saudi Arabia in 1998 and 2000 to meet with the bin Laden family on behalf of a company called the Carlyle Group.
1993, World Trade Center bombing, remember? During the IA had advanced knowledge. The diplomat received the terrorist visa was CIA. It's not unthinkable they paid the way for bombing, very justified budgeting.
You're telling me that you're going to fake some terrorist thing just to get some money out of Congress?
Well, unfortunately, Mr. Hennessy, I have no idea how to fake killing 4,000 people. So we're just going to have to do it real. Oh, blame it on the Muslims, naturally. There I get my funding. Good eye, old girl.
I'm going to get back into the latest fake bin Laden video and the evidence of how all the others have been fakes or re-edits or computer generations. It's a whole mix of them. And what it means that they're putting out this type of propaganda, what it means, what that says about the American people, what it says about humanity. All right, ladies and gentlemen, continuing here with this new, clearly fake bin Laden tape, just on its face. And think about it, they release every few months re-edited 2001 videos. And then it's big national news, ABC, CNN, Fox, they all know it's fake. And then a day later, there's a very quiet retraction. Oh, we believe that was an old tape. You can look at it. It's always the same tape, always the cave in the background, always the green background, always those two tapes, always re-edited, always the same thing he's saying. And they know it. But again, the people that aren't paying attention are just halfway watching. So, oh, it's bin Laden again. A new Zogby poll released yesterday shows that 51% of Americans, up from 45% last year, want Bush and Cheney to be directly investigated for their actions on 9/11. And 67% fault the 9/11 Commission for the failure to probe the anomalies in the collapse of WTC-7. Hours after the release of the poll, bin Laden pops up and promises us a new editorial comment. Coincidence? Precisely the same thing happened last year. On May 23rd, 2006, a Zogby poll was released showing nearly half of Americans wanted a new 9/11 investigation. The very next day, bin Laden popped up to reinforce the official version and threaten new attacks. And it goes on. But remember, it's crude propaganda for a crude public. They've got higher grade propaganda for the intelligentsia. There's many different flavors of it. But for the general public, man, just here is the bad man. Ooh, booga, booga. Ooh, he's gonna get you. He's in the closet. But this new one is not a re-edited tape that I've ever seen. It is a clear fake. It's not even a, it looks like Final Fantasy graphics. I mean, it is a clear video fake. It is a cartoon. I mean, it's like it's obvious. It's like it's a sick joke to them. I can't believe it. They could make it look real. They've chosen to make it look like a cartoon. I've blown it up. I've looked at it very closely, folks. And it's a cartoon. Oh, man, we're in trouble, folks, when they're showing cartoons. I mean, come on. They admit they showed a computer generation and said it was real 2 years ago. Of Muhammad Atta. They post fake made-for-TV videos. And then they re-release them 2.5 years later and say they're real. And then we point out it's fake, and that it's admittedly fake, and it's big on the internet, but on national news they never retract the story. They never say it's fake. Then you've got the other fake bin Laden video where he suddenly gained 100 pounds. His facial features changed. His nose got literally half an inch wider and longer. They did face scans. Wasn't the same person. French, British, Canadian, and U.S. universities did scans, said it doesn't pass a face key. You can scan the real bin Laden's face and try to make a face key off the new one. Doesn't work. Then they did voice print. 100% accuracy. Wasn't the same voice. Then they had linguists listen on top of it, and they said, yeah, that's not even bin Laden. That's a different dialect. Someone raised in the West. Not a Saudi Arabian. The video was fake. It doesn't pass voice key, voice print, identification. It isn't the same person. It's a fake. It's a fake, but that one isn't a computer fake. It's a fat guy in a dark room. I can look at that and I can tell you that is a bad fake.
Terrorism. The words are hypnotically repeated. Terrorism, terrorist, terrorist threat, and of course, believed to be linked to Al-Qaeda. But it's the so-called war on terrorism that's in our faces practically 24/7 as the inescapable focus of our existence.
One day, our grandchildren will look back on this time and ask, how was the war on terror won?
The entire U.S. ruling class, ruling elite, comes to see terrorism as the preferred means, indeed the only means, to provide social cohesion, to provide an enemy image for the society to keep it together. According to neocon theory from Carl Schmitt, you have to have an enemy image in order to have a society. It's a very dangerous thing, because now it means that the entire social order, the political parties, intellectual life, politics in general, all based on a monstrous myth. Monstrous myth.
Look, the CIA has done in this country, what they've done to us is unbelievable. Look at the terrorist acts that have occurred. The CIA behind most, if not all of them. We had the Marine Barracks. We had our embassy in Kenya. We had Pan Am 103. We had the USS Cole. We had Oklahoma City. We had the World Trade Center in 1993.
That helped the terrorists blow up the World Trade Center the first time. They built the bomb. They got the driver's license.
The informant, the FBI informant, a fellow named Salam, a 43-year-old former Egyptian army officer, he was given the assignment to put the bomb together. And he went to his supervisor, his FBI supervisor, and said, we're going to put a dummy bomb in here, right? And the FBI supervisor said, no, we're going to put a real bomb.
The FBI actually carried out the attack on the World Trade Center in 1993. They actually hired Ahmad Salam and paid him $1 million and gave him real explosives, a detonator, and told him to build a bomb and to give it to the foolish people that he was controlling to allow them to attack the World Trade Center complex.
Unfortunately for them, there were only 6 people killed, not enough to pass the legislation. So what happened is 2 years later, April 19, 1995, down comes Oklahoma City Murrah building, 168 people killed. 1 year later, the anti-terrorism legislation that takes away many of our constitutional rights and civil liberties is passed.
Because at 9:30 this morning, we were actually running an exercise for over a company of 1,000 people in London, based on simultaneous bombs going off precisely at the railway stations that happened this morning. So I still have the hairs on the back of my neck standing upright.
To get this quite straight, you were running an exercise to see how you would cope with this, and it happened while you were running the exercise?
Precisely.
Supposed to believe is some kind of coincidence, there was also an anti-terrorist drill going on 7/7, and again, just like 9/11, they were talking about attacks on the same targets, the same kind of tube stations, and exactly the same time as the actual attack happened, providing some kind of cover for what must be operations orchestrated in some way by the state.
How could anyone fly a 60-ton, 125-foot wide, 44-foot tall plane through this obstacle course?
The aircraft, before striking the Pentagon, reportedly executed a 270-degree downward spiral, and yet Hani Hanjour was known as a terrible pilot who could not safely fly even a small plane.
No seats, no luggage, no bodies. Nothing but bricks and limestone.
De helft van de Nederlandse moslims heeft begrip voor de aanslagen van 11 september.
It's a fake! 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 It's a fake!